Hello, my name is Laura Hackle, and I will be covering the 2016 Stair Enhancements webinar today. We will be covering the improvements within the member edit screen, the quick add tool for stairs, the different treads available, and connections. You will be able to put in your questions as I go through. I probably will be covering most of them. And then towards the end, I'll do a live question and answer. I'll look through the questions and answer them for you. If I don't know the answer to them, I'll go ahead and research that and send out an email with your answer. So the first thing that we're going to do is go inside of modeling, and I'm going to show some of the new improvements to the actual stair edit, or adding in the stairs. So the main goal was to reduce the amount of graphical manipulations required while doing the stairs. So if I go over here and I'm going to go ahead and add in a stair, and I'll go on grid 2 and I'll just type this in as 13'9". So I have my member edit screen here. We'll come back to the member edit screen later on. But we do notice here for my number of risers, it is set to auto. This will be calculated by the end elevation. So if I put in 8'2" here for my end elevation and hit tab, it automatically calculates how many number of risers to put in there. How we go about that is, I got this from James. He helped write this spec, but we follow this for our auto number of risers. So this 3/16 maximum variation in rise or tread is allowable. 2 times the rise plus the tread should be between 24 and 25 inches. The rise plus the tread should be between 17 and 17.5 inches. The angle of the stair should be between 20 and 50 degrees. So that's what we follow when we do the auto risers. So if I put in 8'2" here, you saw that it automatically calculated that. So if I put in OK, just click OK. Now if I go to grid line 2 here, and maybe I want to extend this up 3 feet, I can turn it to stick and just select that member end. Right click, move stretch members. And actually, I'll go ahead and turn it back to stick so I make sure I get it on the correct slope. So then I can do the move stretch for the member end. And I'll go up 3 feet. Now it just gives me a warning here. Sorry about that. And click OK. Now it's saying that it's stretching. And if I turn it to solid, it stretched it up 3 feet. And if I edit it, it calculated that end elevation. It changed that to 9'8 3/8", and it turned my number of risers to 16. So I can uncheck that and put in my own risers. So I could put in 14 here. I'll turn this to transparent. And now you see that there's 14 there that I manipulated. We'll come back to the other enhancements in the member edit screen later on. There's also a quick add tool. Now the quick add for stairs, it will be in the next release of 2016. It's meant to be able to add in the stairs quickly, and then you can come back and manipulate them individually. This is going to be very helpful when I do my stairwell and my landing stairs. So I'm going to open up my main view. I have two construction lines here, so I'm going to be putting in my stairwell going up this way, so kind of a zigzag pattern. And I have two construction lines offset from A and B. Those are going to be so my nosing lines match up. So like I stated, in the next release of 2016, you'll be able to have this quick add stair. So to add that to my toolbar configuration, it will be under model -- parametric. So this won't be in yours if you have 2016 right now. If I scroll down, here's a quick stair quick add tool. I'm going to add that to my toolbar and click OK. Click OK. And now when I click on this, I have a quick add stair. So I'm going to be adding these in the same plane. So my near side flight offset, I'm just going to have that 0 because I do want this to be in the same plane. I have a far side flight offset, so it's -4 feet, so that'll be going in 4 feet to the screen. I have my sequence, my first flight on. I'm going to have that be on my near side. We have our tread schedule. We now have options for an interior stringer section size and an exterior stringer section size. And then we also have our tread width. For my low end settings, for my first flight, so that will be down here. So I'm starting at elevation 0 and coming up to elevation 8'2". So for my first flight for the interior and exterior, I'll just have that be a bolt to floor for my end condition. For my other flights, I'm just going to move this over. So here's my low end settings and here's my high end settings. So for my other flight for the interior, for my end condition, I'm going to change this to a no return. And my support to work point, I'll just leave at 1. My exterior, I will have that be a return at 4 feet. So I'm coming up here and at my exterior, I want this to go out for a return of 4 feet to hook into this channel. And then my other flights for my interior and exterior, I have my high-end settings. The interior, I'll have that be a no return as well. Sorry, this would be for my low-end settings, so going up this way, I would have for my exterior to be a return. And for my other flights, for my interior, I'll have that be a no return at 1. And my exterior, I'll have that a return at 4. So that's where I was stating. That would be your high-end setting. For this one over here, for my other flights, for the exterior, that would be coming up this way and going that way. So I'll click OK. And now I can add these in. So the first one I want to do is intersection construction line to intersection construction line for my first flight. For my second one, I want grid line to grid line. And then for my third flight, I want intersection construction line to intersection of construction line. Now if I do click a point here, maybe I was done and I don't want, or I mispicked the point. If you hit escape, it allows you to repick that point. If I'm completely done, I can right click to OK or return. And now you see, even though I added these all in at once, they are going to be individual stairs that I'll still need to edit. And if I turn this to solid, you'll see that it quickly added in these stairs up the stairwell. And now I can come back and start editing these stairs. So the first one I'm going to want to edit is I'm going to want to make this a return over 11 inches. Since I had this here, I want it to extend over 11 more inches. So if I edit that stair, I'll go into my right end settings, that support to work point. I'm just going to modify this to 4 feet 11. So that moved over. And like Aaron showed in the previous webinar, we have process on the fly, so it automatically updated. My second flight is correct. And then my third flight, I'm going to want to move this over 11 inches. I'm going to want to move that over 11 inches. And I'm actually going to want to put a return on that one as well. So I'll just edit this. In my left end settings, I'll bring this over 11 inches, so that'll be 3'1". And my return on my right end setting will be 4'11". And I can just copy this and paste it down from my far side stringer. So it automatically updated. And like I stated, I wanted my nosings to line up. So if I turn this, my nosings line up this way as the way I added it in. Intersection construction line to intersection construction line, grid line to grid line, intersection construction line to intersection construction line. So that is for a stairwell. Another one I can add in is for a landing. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of a construction line here. Oops. I'll go ahead and get rid of this one as well. So now I can add in a landing stair. So if I want to go up, have a landing, and then go up again. Get rid of this one last one. So to do that, I can do my quick add stair again. So since I'm going in a straight line here and I'm not zigzagging back and forth, this near side flight offset and far side flight offset will not be taking into effect. So it's not going to have a far side flight offset or a far side flight when I just added in a straight line. So down at the bottom here, we are starting to change all of our copy, paste, save, and load for the whole member down by the OK button. So I'm going to go ahead and just load one of my configurations I already have. So here it changed it for me. My bolt to floor is still going to be at 3 for my support to work point for my low end settings for my first flight. My other flight for my low end setting for the interior and exterior, I'm going to have it be a return of 3. And then my other flights, the high end settings, interior and exterior at a return of 4 feet. So I'll click OK. And I can add in my points here. So I'm going to pick this for my first point and my second point. And then I'll have a landing. And then my third and my fourth point. Like I stated, even though we added this in at the same time, they are individual stairs, so I will have to modify them. And I see here, I'll just have to modify this because it does have a return of 3 inches, so I do need to set this back 3 inches. So I just go ahead and edit. For my right end settings, I'll just drop this to 3'9". And I'll do that for my near side and my far side. And now I have the stairs how I want them. You can also add in the quick add through an actual plan view as well, not just an elevation view. Your settings will be a little bit different here for the options, so I'm just going to open up 0 here, and I'm going to add in a stair from here to here, and then it's going to have a landing, or it can have a landing right here, and then it's going to turn and go up this way. So if I do my quick add again, now you do notice that there are different settings or options for this. I do only have my tread and riser that I can manipulate the sequence I want it in. The tread schedule the stringer section size, the tread width, the calculate elevation. So since I'm at elevation 0, it's going to start at elevation 0, and also a use previous elevation, which I'll show you. So I'll go ahead and add in my first one, pick here to here. So it's saying my first point elevation was going to be at 0. I picked it at 0. My second point elevation, since I had a rise and run of 7'11", my second point elevation is at 8 foot 1 and 15/16. So that's okay. And then my second point, or sorry, my third point, I'll pick here and then go up this way. So it's stating my first point elevation is at 8 foot 1 and 15/16 since it remembered my previous elevation, and then my second point elevation will be at 16 foot 3 and 13/16. Click OK. Now I'm done, so I can just right click, turn to solid, and then here I would come in and edit that stair and put a landing on it as well. So there are 4 different options for our tread in the stair definition schedule now. So I'm going to just go ahead and open up my main. Turn this to solid transparent so you can see the treads here. There are also 16 different schedules that you can create, but they are looking to create more. And there's also a remarks column for each tread. So the first one we see is the pan. So if I go ahead and go to my options, fabricator options, stair tread definition schedule, we have our first one is pan. We've seen this in previous versions. We have a plate thickness. There is now grade. For the nosing, everything is the same except for the abrasive setback. The abrasive setback would be the distance that the pan treads are offset from the work line of the stair. So this would accommodate for the abrasive nosing material. So for this one, maybe I'll put in 1/4 inch. And click OK. And now if I just go ahead and mark this member for processing, I did have this nosing at the 1.5 inches. So I will need a process since I marked it for processing. And now you'll see if I zoom in that it offset that down 1/4 inch from the nosing line. Another thing here, if I zoom in, actually, we do have bent plate as an option for the tread supports. So bent plate, and then we also have single or dual supports. The bent plate, you have a dimension tread face, dimension riser face, and then the material description. So this would be for the schedule stair tread 1. Stair tread 2 has the dual supports. Just different options that you can set up in your schedules. So if I click OK, maybe I'll just try to go ahead and change this. I'll just change this to schedule 2. Click OK. You see the dual supports like I mentioned. You can modify these now in the member edit screen. So if I go ahead and double click on it, in your tread support settings, so I'm going to go ahead and collapse some of this stuff. So we do have our tread support settings. If I uncheck the auto, it has a setback from the nosing at 1.5 inches. And then we have the length of material. So maybe I want to change that to 4. Now this will always be centered as close as possible. So that's where it's getting that 9.5 and it's setting it back 1.5 inches. It'll always vary. Now the one that we will be changing is the auto riser support dimension. You can set that back from the heel because that always will start at 2 with a length of material of 2, sorry. So my setback from the heel, I'll put that as 2 as well. And click OK. And now you'll see that it moved it up 2 inches, the setback from the heel, and it changed that support length to 4. We do have an option that we'll come back to, but if I uncheck the shop assembled, you can do attach your supports to a tread will become available. Another option we have is the grading. Nothing really has changed in the grading. I'll just change this to Schedule 3. Now you do notice once I change that to Schedule 3, so I had it at Schedule 2 and this was grayed out. If I change this to Schedule 3, which we'll come back to later, you do have the option for your top tread schedule. You can mix those and your bottom tread schedule. Right now, if I drop this down, it only has Schedule 3 available. We'll come back to this, but that's just sorting it already for me, so what schedules actually have the grading in them. Like if I had, like we'll get to the continuous plate, if I had multiple schedules for continuous plate, I could have a different schedule for my top tread and my bottom tread. Usually you don't mix the grading one though. So click OK here for my grading. If I go in my stair tread definition schedule, really the only option that's changed here is that I can change my grade. And now there is an option in my job options, steel grade options, grading. There is an option for that for our default steel grades. The next one we'll have is for a plate, not to get confused with the continuous plate, but the plate would be for individual treads. So I'll change this to my, Schedule 4. And you'll see that we have a plate option as well. We have a plate thickness. You could also put a gauge in there for it, like a 10 gauge or something. The grade. We also have checkered plate is available. We have pattern setback. So if you have that, let's say if I have a 1/16 of an inch, for example, the nosing will be at the top of the pattern. So the nosing will come from the top of the pattern if I have it on checkered. We have the tread width, the nosing leg, the angle, nosing leg, riser leg angle. For this one, we also have different shapes. So we have C-shaped, other, and rolled. Maybe I'll just put a C-shaped here. This will go from the top of the nosing. Will be at the top of the C shape. For our tread supports, we have a single or none. It only needs a single support at the bottom. We also have our holes, so you can add holes for just the plate one for now. Let's say I put my horizontal spacing, say I put that to 6 and hit tab. You will get a note here that says your holes are not on the supported material. So if I change that back to 3, then it'll allow it still to put those holes in there. Then like I stated before, all of them have the remarks at the bottom. I click OK. And mark it for processing. Oops. So there, I changed it to a channel or a C-shaped. And the last one we have is a continuous. This would be for continuous checkered plate. It will be changed to a continuous plate in the next version of 2016 for the name. So I'll just change this to schedule 5. And here's our continuous plate. Right now you do see that there is a plate at the bottom here. I can change that. So if I go to my schedule 5, right now I'm in the latest binaries or the latest version, so it does state that it's a continuous plate. I can put a plate thickness or a gauge there, so maybe I put a 10 gauge. I have a grade, checkered, our leg length, our return top, our return bottom. We have our gap and our clearance as well. So for the gap, it'll be the distance from the riser for one tread to the leg of the adjacent tread that is immediately above that tread. And then we have the clearance as well. That'll be the distance from the top of the riser to the bottom of the adjacent tread immediately above the tread. This would be from the underside of the plate, and it would be along the slope, sorry. Also, if I put a return bottom and I set that to 0, it would put this vertical, or it would make all my risers perfectly vertical. And then the last we have is a pattern setback. That will be the distance the treads are to be offset from the work line of the stair. And then our tread support, our type, you can have a single support, dual, or none. And then the material description, maybe I want to make this an angle. Oops. Click OK. Mark it for processing. Oops. Now you see an angle there. Now I will come back to this later on, but in my tread 5 I had the continuous plate. I have tread 6 is set to a continuous plate, tread 7's a pan, tread 8's a pan, and then tread 9's a continuous plate. So I'll get back to that as soon as I get into the member edit screen and start changing the top tread and bottom tread. So now moving on to the member edit screen, go ahead and come up to this top one and edit it. Now things that are new to the member edit screen, we have our general settings. Now we do have a main material if it is a system or a user. We also have in our general, we have the near side material and a far side material. So if you wanted your near side to be a plate stringer and your far side you could have an HSS stringer. Go ahead and change this to schedule 2. The schedule 2 was a pan that had the dual supports. So if I uncheck this, shop assembled, and attach supports to tread, and hit OK, and hover over these, you'll see that now, if it's not shop assembled and hover over those tread, or hover over the treads, yeah, the supports are going to be attached to it. Oops. Another thing as well, if I go back into the member edit screen, we have our bottom riser setback. So this has replaced the thickness at the landing. So that would be, if I go ahead and open up my PowerPoint, your bottom riser setback right now is at 0. You can make it a positive number to have it extend down, or a negative would extend that up. And we also have the length. 0 would have it be straight. A positive number would have it come back for the length, and a negative number would have it extend out. So for this one, maybe I'll put my bottom riser setback to -3, and I'll change my bottom riser length to 2. So right now you'll see this is what it is. If I click OK, you see it extended that up, or set that back. And showing the opposite of that, if I change this to 6, so extending that down 6, and maybe bring that -4 feet 1.5 to extend out, you'll see that you can also extend that out, and maybe you want to pour your concrete all like that. I said we'd come back to it for our schedules, or our intermediate tread schedule. So right now it's just at schedule 2. You'll see that these are grayed out. So they're grayed out because they are pan. So pan, you cannot mix the different treads. So if I had multiple schedules that were pan stair, I cannot change the top and bottom tread schedule. But if they are grading plate or continuous plate, I can. So if I change this to grading, for example, the top tread schedule, if I drop that down, I only have the option for my other grading schedules. Right now it's only schedule 3 because that's my only grading one. Let's see, usually you won't mix the grading. You can't mix pan and grading, or continuous plate and grading. You can't mix that. You can only change the top and bottom schedules if they are alike in the actual tread type. So if I drop this down to my continuous plate, I showed you that that continuous plate also had a schedule for, let's see, it had a schedule for 6 and 9. So maybe I want to put my tread at 6 for my top, and my bottom one I'll do schedule 9, and click OK. And now it automatically updates. So it's probably hard to see the differences, but this is my tread 9, and I have a tread 6 up on top. So setting up for a stair, maybe I want to offset this or bring this setback, or create a setback, sorry, of a 1/2 inch here. So I can edit the stair, and go into my, I'm going to go ahead and collapse some of this stuff. So in my left end settings for my bolt to floor, I have a bolt to floor clearance now. So I'll put that at a 1/2 inch. And then the last thing that I need to change is in my general stringer settings, my bottom riser setback, I'll put that at -1/2 as well, because I'm going to want to bring this up a 1/2 inch. Sorry, bring this up a 1/2 inch with it. So if I click OK, it automatically updates, and now I'm ready to change or add my connection in. So like I stated, connections in the beginning, we can now add connections. They're new to 2016, but they're completely manual with no design calcs or coping done. So they're more as components, but they can only be added actually inside that member edit screen. So if I edit this bottom stair, I'm just going to change my schedule to grading for this example. And I can go into my left end. So my left end down here, I can go to my left end near side and far side connection. So right now my connection type, I'm going to change this to a floor clip. I'm going to go ahead and collapse some of this stuff. So I have a floor clip, my attachment, I'm going to change this to a welded. My side, I'm going to have this be interior. My section size, I'll just change this to a 3x3 by a quarter. My dimension to the stringer edge, I'm going to put this at 3 as well. There is a checkbox here to locate at the setback elevation. So if I want to bring this up that 1/2 inch, the connection to supported for my weld size is at 3/16. So you can change that weld size. The connection to supporting, we have bolt type, bolt diameter, we have a hole type. My horizontal, the first hole, I am going to change this to 4. And click OK. And now if I rotate around, now I have my connection in there for my left end settings. Now I can move on to my right end settings. Maybe I want to put a clip angle up here. So I'll edit this, go to my right end settings. So this will be my right end near side. My connection type, I'm going to change this to a clip angle. I'm going to leave my right end far side, so that would be up here. I'm going to leave that at plain end. My attachment, I'll change this to a welded. My side exterior, that's fine. My material settings, my section size, I'll change this to a 4x3 by 1/2. My length of my angle, I'll change that to 6. And I'll change my hole type to a short slot. So the last thing I want to do is actually set this back a 1/2 inch as well. If I come up here to my near side stringer, my setback, there's now a setback from the work point. I'm going to put this at a 1/2 inch as well to give it a 1/2 inch clearance. So if I rotate around, I have a clip angle in there. Now for right now, currently we only do make the bolted connection to beams, but you could still do it into a column, but you're not going to get the actual bolts there and the holes on the other member. You can still put the connection there, you're just not going to actually get the bolt. You would have to manually add that. But since we don't have design calcs for that, that wouldn't be very hard at all. And then the last connection type I have is the shear plate. So I'm going to add a shear plate over on this side. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to let this go ahead. So I'm going to let this go through and detail this while we're doing the shear plate. I'm just going to show that we did do some work to our templates. So the cleanup work for stairs for the templates. So if I hit show detail on this one, I'm going to go ahead and let this detail with templates while I'm applying this connection. So if I double click on this stair, and I'm going to go to my right end far side connection. My connection type, I'll change this to a shear. We have the same setup, attachment, bolted. I'll put this on the exterior, change this to a plate length of 6. And maybe I want this to be a short slot as well. And now if I rotate around, I have my shear plate there. And now that that went through, this is the detailing with templates on. So we did do some cleanup work here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and detail it again with my process pull down. Just detail current piece mark or DC. And I'm just going to do it without the templates. Click OK. And then this is just the regular work without the templates. So that concludes today's webinar on 2016 Stair Enhancements. We covered the improvements within the member edit screen, the quick add tool for stairs, the different treads available, and the connections.